In Hellenistic times, Athens was no longer the all-encompassing city that it once was. There had been a power shift towards other cities of influence. In that volatile period, Pergamon rose to greatness.
In some ways, it's an echo of the Acropolis of Athens, where the temples stand on a hill, a natural rock over the city. And no expense is spared in building splendid temples and splendid public buildings in Pergamon. And so Greek city planning begins earlier than Alexander, but it's taken to perfection in the Hellenistic period. And wherever you go, each of them has a recognizable institution. Each of them will have a Greek theater. Each of them will have Greek temples. Each of them will have a gymnasium. Each of them will have a agora, a marketplace cum forum.
The focal point of a Greek city was its public marketplace and forum called the agora. Here, merchants sold their wares and citizens congregated to discuss the hot political issues of the day. Adjacent to the agora was the stoa, a feature that was the rough equivalent of an indoor mall today. It consisted of a colonnade on one side and a back wall on the other, a roofed shelter providing an open space while still protected from the elements. The agora and the stoas together formed the economic, public, and political heart of the Hellenistic city. But its cultural soul lay in another engineering marvel, and was arguably more important: the theater.
The theater is basically an Athenian invention. Drama is, above all, democratic. It develops in Athens concomitantly with the Athenian democracy.
Theater was an essential and very important aspect of the Greek outlook to the world, how they thought of themselves and how they thought of the world. And I think to many people's opinion, is one of the great legacies that the ancient Greek civilization has bestowed upon us today.
Theaters in ancient Greece were arenas for social commentary and poetic art. But they also inspired the Romans in the construction of colosseums and set the standard for stadium design for the next 2,000 years.
Separate your men by tribe, by clan, such that clan may bear aid to clan and tribe to tribe. Thus spake Nestor to Agamemnon in the Iliad. And those words might have been said here, because one of the great gifts of Greek culture to the world is theater and music. This is a Greek theater at Pergamum. It is the steepest of its kind. Now, a Broadway theater, and I've played in a few, holds between 800 or 900 people and maybe 2,000 if it's a musical house. This theater holds thousands and thousands and thousands of spectators. So how in the heck can an actor stand on that stage and project his voice such as that the spectator in the very last row at the back of this theater can hear what he's saying? Well, the answer is sort of an engineering feat. The theater, first of all, is dug out of the side of a mountain, and it doesn't need a very big substructure because the side of the mountain provides the support for these stone benches. Second of all, the theater is in a semicircle, and the semicircle gives way to an amazing sense of acoustics. You can stand on that stage and you can almost whisper, and someone in the very back row would hear you as if you were speaking right into his ear because the sound would bounce off the back wall. Third thing is that the actors wore masks. And these masks not only function as character, but they also function as sort of a megaphone through the lips. So these three elements combined, this theater would be a fantastic place to come and hear the Agamemnon performed by Aeschylus.
I think undoubtedly the best preserved ancient Greek theater, the theater at Epidauros in the Argolid Peninsula in the Peloponnesus.
Greek theaters were divided into three parts: the theatron, or viewing area, in which the audience sat; the orchestra, or dancing area, in which most of the action took place; and the skene, a timber building set behind the orchestra. The skene and its flat roof were used for dressing rooms, as a backdrop, and sometimes for the staging of scenes. The theater at Epidaurus has 55 rows of seats and is divided into 3 horizontal seating sections. Stairs divide the sections into separate areas. In all, this giant theatre has an estimated capacity of 12 to 14,000 people. But it's the acoustics that make this theatre utterly extraordinary.
If you're sitting up in the top row, you're a long way away from the stage, and the person who's down in the orchestra or on the stage looks quite tiny, and yet you can have a conversation with that person with only a slight elevation of your voice.